What's good, people? It's about that time to randomly relate, reverse rants, no hate. Now, there's a website called Boxing News 24. There is a date set for Dillian Whyte. Not particular a day, but a month rather, in September, against an American fighter named Jermaine Franklin, who is 20 wins, 13 KOs. Not a big name. Not a popular fighter at all. He has decent skills. I've seen him fight, and he's a guy that likes to throw a lot of, double, triple jabs, jab to the body. He moves his head. Decent fighter. Decent fighter. I think that this fight, if it happens, is to keep Dillian Whyte active, and the fight's supposed to happen in the States. Don't have an exact location yet, but he pretty much, to me, I think this is to keep him active and also to fight someone that's not so dangerous to him, but not an actual meatball, an absolute meatball. But I think that Dillian Whyte deserves to be able to have a meatball or two, because let's be real, the dude's been fighting, top guys, and the way his career has been handled in terms of him being number one contender and the constant waiting and never getting the shot. Of course, he could have took the fight against AJ, which would have been their rematch, and he didn't because he didn't like the money. So that was something that he contributed to himself. But overall, Dillian Whyte's a good fighter, and Dillian Whyte needs to be in the mix. Now, we know, unless something gets canceled, we're supposed to have Wilder versus Fury next month. Okay, and we're supposed to have AJ versus Usyk in September. Now, even if those fights happen, it still doesn't put Dillian Whyte, he's in the mix in terms of staying active, and if he wins this fight, regardless who wins between Fury and Wilder, the question would be, do we get undisputed? Now, let's say if Usyk was to win, does Usyk decide, I'll fight Dillian Whyte, or does he go a different route? So, Dillian Whyte, to fight this guy and fight him in America, for one, the guy's not a big name. So, I feel like he's probably going to address Wilder, being that it's in the States. Fury's fought in the States, so he may address both of them. He may say something about Anthony Joshua. Who knows? We know he wants a shot at somebody who has a title. So, don't look at Jermaine Franklin and go, oh, who is this guy? Like, oh, why is Dillian fighting this bum? Like, yeah. He's a decent guy. He's not a bum. He's an up-and-coming fighter, okay? He's not a bum. He's an up-and-coming fighter. He doesn't really have a name yet. And pretty much what is good for Dillian to keep him busy. We saw what happened with Povetkin, and upsets can happen. So it's like it can happen here. Now, from what I've seen of Dillian and of Jermaine, Dillian should win this fight. But I don't think he's taking this fight like, this guy Jermaine is a savage. He's a beast. I mean, I haven't heard him speak about him yet. We don't know if the fight is actually going to materialize, but if it does, that's his record. He's 20-0, 13 KOs, and he's a decent fighter. Like I said, he's a decent fighter, but he shouldn't beat Dillian. Dillian should win this fight. If Dillian Whyte, in fact, Dillian may have a second fight. If this fight happens in September, he may have a second fight to keep active, because if we do get undisputed, that's going to be more time that Dillian has to wait. So, depending on how things go, of course, we don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But that is the possible opponent for Dillian Whyte. Jermaine Franklin in September, somewhere in America. Okay? Now, somebody called me yesterday and said, man, did you hear this dude Malik Scott? I said, no, what about him? He's talking again. You know, last time he was talking about Deontay Wilder is 10 times better than Muhammad Ali. And now he's, this dude is crazy. So, he played the link. We did that duo thing on the cell phone. And I mean, I really don't think much of it, but Swayze, check it out. This is what I'm going to say about it. He has a right to his own opinion, even though his opinion a lot of times just go like way out left field somewhere. Look. What he said was this, okay? He was referencing Tyson Fury repeating what Mike Tyson said about everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth, right? And Malik Scott said that's a casual statement, that's something casuals would say. That's something he never understood, and like to him it just makes no sense, basically. Okay. Now, here's the simplicity of it all. Mike Tyson making that comment, Mike Tyson is not saying, I got a game, somebody has a game plan, okay, and I'm going to execute my game plan this way and that way. Pow, oh shit, I got punched in the mouth, that hurt. I can't remember my game plan. All right. So, I just think Malik Scott shows no common sense in his comment. This is exactly what Mike Tyson is saying, okay? You have a game plan. I'm going to throw my jab this way. I'm going to step this way. I'm going to feint the jab. Bam! Come through with a straight left or straight right, depending on what your stance is. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to keep moving. And all of a sudden, you get punched. You get knocked the hell out. You wake up seeing the referee standing over you in your cornerman and looking at the damn lights. So basically, yeah, you have a game plan. But I'm not coming in there to win a decision. I'm coming in to knock you out. So you have a game plan. But when I crack you, your game plan will not be executed. So game plan, done. Okay? Null and void. No game plan. Your game plan is ineffective. You know what I'm saying? That's what he's basically saying. And pretty much that's what Mike Tyson is saying in a nutshell when he makes that comment. So Malik Scott saying that to try to debunk what Fury said and basically pretty much debunk what that whole theory that Mike Tyson has. So no, that comment is not a casual statement, man. Okay, that's a statement that whether he was making a general statement or referring to himself, I believe Mike was talking about himself, overall more so than anything else, because yeah, you got a game plan. I know I'm going to do this to Mike. This is what you got to do to Mike. But when I catch you, you're going to realize your game plan doesn't matter. Simple. Okay. Now, my man Swayze don't think much of Malik Scott as a fighter, and neither do I. People said Malik Scott was a very crafty boxer. He's very technical. But I saw him get destroyed by Luis Ortiz. I saw him get beat. I seen him, when I watch him fight, here's my thing. If you can only show some of these technical skills against lesser fighters, then how good are you? Because basically what that means is this. Oh, I do have some skills. I just don't have the heart to display them when the fight gets tough. He got dropped by Luis Ortiz several times. Let's be real, man. And Luis Ortiz, to me, is a decent fighter. Nothing special. A decent basic fighter. Nothing special. Luis Ortiz has not won a championship. He's not accomplished anything as a heavyweight. The best thing about Luis Ortiz, maybe what Malik Scott, to say that that's the best on his resume, that's not saying much. And the most we remember about Luis Ortiz was getting knocked out twice by Wilder. So, here's a fight where he's winning the fight, both fights, winning the fights. We know on the first fight, from what we understand, the judges had him down on the scorecards, which nobody can understand how. Logically, how the hell they had him losing that fight. But Malik Scott, he can teach Deontay the things that he knows. Now, the difference with being a trainer and a fighter is, as a trainer, you don't have to have the same heart, because you're just basically passing on knowledge that you were afraid to display in tough fights. And what more can you really say about Malik Scott? I mean, Tyson Fury ripped him. And Tyson Fury, in my opinion, was still being nice to him, because even though he said, how can you expect Wilder to do something that you couldn't do? And he alluded to the sparring match when he busted his eardrum and all that. But how Malik Scott, no matter what he shows Wilder, we'll see what happens. Like I said, that's another story. But Malik Scott, there's really not much to say about the guy, man. His opinion is his opinion. I don't agree with the stuff he say. There's some things he said that I agree with, but his opinions on things is just like, even for him to say, that Deontay Wilder's 10 times better than Muhammad Ali. I mean, based on what? I could ask that question. What does Deontay have in his arsenal that makes you say he's better than Ali? I mean, what opponents has he beaten for you to even compare him? Now, what I will say, to all of these so-called pro-black guys who think that I'm supposed to just take Wilder's side or Malik Scott's side because he's black American, well, I'm going to say this, okay? Whether you're asked a question or whether you just come out your face to try to make a point to boost up your guy, that's a weird situation when you bring up Muhammad Ali's name. And I'm going to tell you why, or even for somebody to bring it up to you. According to Deontay Wilder, Muhammad Ali is his idol and his favorite fighter. In fact, I've seen Deontay Wilder wear shirts with Muhammad Ali's picture on it. Okay? Muhammad Ali is a black American. So why not just, hey, listen, Muhammad Ali is a different type of fighter. He's a pure boxer, an athlete, a mover, fast hands. You know what I'm saying? Crazy cat-like reflexes and foot speed and all of that. A more comparable fighter would be like Marciano, because he's a puncher and so is Wilder. Wilder's 10 times better than Marciano, right? Now, since y'all want to play the race card, why didn't you pick a Marciano, or Jack Dempsey? Why didn't you pick one of those guys to compare, Deontay Wilder with? Because, Muhammad Ali is a black American, right? And you guys are so big and so keen on black Americans need to stick together, or black people need to, you're saying Americans, but overall we know what you're saying. So what I'm saying is, see how the hypocrisy just oozes out of all of you? So not only that, Muhammad Ali's dead and gone. So to even make that comparison is like, man, look, Ali is from a different time, different generation. That's a fight we'll never see. It's irrelevant to even talk about. How about something like that? But since y'all want to play the race card thing, it's like, yeah, why even allow Muhammad Ali's name to be mentioned? Just simple. Ali's not here anymore. Even if you think you could beat him, I feel like everybody who has confidence in themselves and have the ability to fight, you should, believe that you can beat whoever, but you also need to be realistic with yourself as well. Okay. So yeah, to make that comment, that he's 10 times better than Muhammad Ali, then turn around and, say that that's a casual statement that Mike Tyson is making. It just goes to show you the lack of intelligence that he has and the lack of understanding and common sense, because, yeah, that applies to not just Mike Tyson, but that applies to fights and period. You come into the ring with a game plan. You want to execute. You get punched in the mouth, boom, you're knocked out, and all of a sudden you can't execute your game plan. How hard is that to understand? I don't know. Now, enough on that. And something I was thinking about, because I saw an interview with Ellie Setback and Errol Spence. Now, Errol Spence was asked by Ellie about how long are you going to stay at 147? Like, you've been there for a long time. How long do you think you can stay at 147? And Errol Spence responded with something like, man, look, I've been there for a while. He's like, yeah, he's like, if the right fight don't happen, I'm gone. Now, one, he's not talking about retiring. Two, we know he's not talking about going down in weight. So, 3 and 4 is this. If he goes to 154, Jermell Charlo was there. If he goes to 160, Jamal Charlo was there. We know that they're friends, and my thing was, I was wondering, would these dudes actually fight each other? Let's be real. I don't think Errol Spence would be cool with somebody having more belts than him, and they're in the same division. And I don't think Jamel would either. As far as Jamal, I don't know. Maybe if he went to 160 and he, let's say if he fought Demetrius Andrade and beat him, if he had another title or held 2 of the titles, I don't know. Does Jamal get that itch, that urge to feel like, I want the titles? Does he come after Jamal, Errol Spence? I don't know, because he seems to be okay with having his title right now and not going after other guys for their titles. And, I don't know how close they are, the Charlos are with Errol Spence, but they, I do know they seem to be pretty close, and that we might have a situation where these guys are holding titles in the same division but won't fight each other. So, I don't know. Will it be good for the division if Spence goes up? Yeah. If the fights happen, right? And if usually most fighters don't go up 2 weight classes all at once. It's happened, but I more than likely see him going to 154. Now, he said if the right fight doesn't happen. And I also was thinking like, well, what is the right fight? We're waiting to see you fight Ugas and fight, Terence Crawford. Ugas only because he has a title. And if you want to be undisputed, well, go take it. So, to say if the right fight doesn't happen, I don't know exactly who he's referencing that to. He's supposed to be fighting Pacquiao. Now, he should beat Pacquiao. In all honesty, if you look at both fighters and where Pacquiao is now and what he should beat Pacquiao, whether he beats him or not, however it goes, here's the point. You beat Pacquiao, you take his title. Okay. What happens though with Terence Crawford? What happens with Ugas? At one point, he was supposed to be fighting Ugas. And then I guess that fight was dropped, or the negotiations of that fight, if they ever even got that far. I just know it was from word of mouth that he was supposed to be fighting Ugas. So does he actually fight Ugas at any point? Does he actually fight Terence Crawford at any point? So I don't know. So for him to say, if the right fight doesn't happen, I'm gone, there's some questions there. Because, like, what exactly are you saying? Like who, what fight are you talking about? You fought Sean Porter, you beat him, you beat Danny Garcia. Keith Thurman is still MIA. You know what I'm saying, as far as him being back in the ring. And so I don't know what he's talking about when he says that. Like, if the right fight doesn't happen. Now, again, if he goes to 154, there's a Charlo there. He goes to 160, there's a Charlo there. So, do we get to see him fight either one of them? And two, what I was thinking about was this. He goes to 154. And from what I've seen with Errol Spence, one thing I would give him credit for, especially coming back after that accident. And, people try to take all the credit away from him, and you can't, no matter how much you try. But Errol Spence didn't have to come back against Danny Garcia. He could have came back like, yo, let me get a couple soft touches and work my way back in. He came back and he wanted Danny Garcia. And let's not, act like people wasn't thinking Danny Garcia was going to win that fight. And not just because of the accident. There was people that was like, nah, Danny's been tested and just saying a bunch of shit. But listen, let's say he goes to 154. What I'm looking at is a good challenge for him at 154 would be, what's my man name that just fought Charlo? Tony Harrison. And you know that the first thing people are going to do is compare the performances. Let's see how Errol Spence did against Tony Harrison versus, Jamel, who fought him twice. And that's a fight people are going to be itching for. Now, again, I don't know if these guys are that tight that they won't fight each other. But I think it'll be interesting to see what happens. But at the end of the day, man, I don't know. We've had blood brothers. I would never, fight my brother. So I don't, especially over some money, like going in. Like I couldn't, because, boxing is a brutal sport. I wouldn't want to be the reason that my brother is walking around with slurred speech for the rest of his life or some shit like that, and same thing, like either way. So, and people are friends, you got different levels. Sometimes friends are like, you got two friends that they're like more like brothers than friends, so who knows? I don't know how tight they are, but if that happens, that he goes to 154 or 160, does he beat Jamel Charlo? Does he beat Jamal Charlo? Let me know what y'all think. Do y'all think that it'll be a situation where the titles are held hostage and these guys won't fight each other? Do you think we'll get unification? Do you think we'll get to see Jamel, Charlo versus Errol Spence? At 160, do you think we get to see Jamal Charlo versus Errol Spence? Because one thing's for sure. If he goes up in weight class, and I say this for every fighter, what you did in the previous weight class, okay, you held titles, you unified, that's great. But to go up, go to a different weight class, it's about what you're doing now. Now let's see let's let the saga continue. Another chapter, let's see what you do now. And I really don't see Errol Spence going to any other weight class just to be there. Like, I see him wanting the title. I see him wanting to fight, have the titles, be the guy in that division. But do you think their friendship will stop that from happening? Anyway, let me know. Never fall in love with lies. Remember, the truth brings hate out of people. And I will catch y'all on the next video.